She was in the shower. I was getting ready for another night shift. I bent down to kiss her goodbye, habit more than affection at this point. And there it was. That little glowing notification. No Jake. That's what stopped me. Jake. That's me. You ever see your own name used like it's a dirty secret? Like a line not to cross? Like a damn warning label? It freezes something inside you. So I picked up the phone. I know what some people say: privacy, boundaries, trust. Save it. Trust was already dead in this house, and I was about to watch the autopsy. I opened the thread, and my heart, my stupid, loyal, paycheck-earning, blind as a bat heart, just stopped beating. Make sure you're ovulating this week, and tell him you're on your period so he doesn't expect anything. You'll need the bed to yourself that night. Jake's working the overnight again. Just lock the door and let Thomas in after dinner. Remember, this is for the family. You're doing God's work. That last one? From my mother-in-law. Let that sink in. My wife's mother was orchestrating a behind-the-scenes affair for the purpose of pregnancy. And not just any affair. No, that would be too normal for the free show my life had become. This was planned. Clinical. A whole operation. With my brother-in-law as the donor. I don't know how long I stood there, staring at the screen. Long enough for the steam from the bathroom to start curling into the hallway. I scrolled further. Messages, voice notes, even a damn group photo. There they were, standing in front of a cake that read, "It's official." My wife. My in-laws. Her sister. All smiles. My brother-in-law had his arm around her. Her hand rested on her stomach like she was already showing. That was yesterday. The day I worked a double shift and came home to find her, exhausted, on the couch, wrapped in a blanket like she'd just done the laundry instead of whatever the hell they were celebrating. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even think. I just moved. I went into the bedroom and packed a single duffel bag. No folding. Just grabbed the essentials. The documents. The flash drive I kept buried in my sock drawer. The old wedding photo? Left it face down on the dresser. Her phone? I took pictures of every message. Evidence. Insurance. Revenge. Then I disappeared. No note. No confrontation. I walked out the front door like I was going to get milk and never came back. The next 24 hours were a blur. Motel room. Lawyer. 3 pages of damning text printed and sealed in an envelope. A letter with my name and hers. My terms. Silence until my phone started vibrating on the nightstand of that dingy little room off I-84. I glanced at the screen. 159 missed calls and messages. Most of them from her mother. Not my wife. Not the woman who made vows and broke them behind my back. Not the woman who climbed into bed with my blood relative for the sake of family. Her mother. The woman who called herself Christian while conducting backdoor eugenics in her daughter's womb. I scrolled to the latest one. A voicemail transcript popped up. Jake. Please, please, please call me back. It's Claire. She's in the ICU. Something happened. You have to come. I stared at the message. ICU. That could have meant anything. Panic attack. Complication. Guilt catching up with her and pulling her down like cement shoes in the middle of a lake. I didn't race to the hospital. I didn't even drive there. I sat on the edge of the motel bed, phone still in my hand, the message sitting on my screen like it had weight. Claire's in the ICU. A few years ago, those words would have shattered me. Sent me barreling down the highway, heart in my throat, praying to a God I barely believe in. But not now. Not after that. Instead, I sat there, staring at the wall, listening to the buzzing neon sign outside flicker on and off. The hum was almost soothing. I finished the bottle of motel bourbon I'd been nursing for the better part of an hour. And then I slept. When a woman stabs you in the soul, you stop rushing to save her from the mess she made. Morning came gray and cold. I shaved, showered, put on a clean shirt. I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the man looking back. His jaw was tighter, eyes sharper. No more softness. No more second chances. I finally showed up at the hospital at 8:43 a.m., 14 hours after the message. Walked right up to the desk in emergency. Gave them her name. Claire Brennan, I said, voice flat. The nurse looked at me, then at the screen. Her eyes softened. Are you the husband? I didn't answer. She pointed down the hallway. Room 217. She's stable. Her mother's with her. Of course she was. Room 217 was quiet. The kind of quiet that buzzes in your ears. The first thing I noticed wasn't Claire in the bed. It was her mother, Judith, sitting beside her like the Virgin Mary in mourning, if Mary had a clipboard and control issues. When she saw me, her face lit up like she'd seen the second coming. Jake, she gasped, rising. Thank God. I didn't hug her. I didn't speak. I looked past her to the woman in the bed. My wife. Pale. Fur in her arm. Monitors blinking soft green and yellow around her. Supraventricular tachycardia, Judith said like it was a magic spell. Her heart rate spiked. Stress-induced. The doctor said she passed out at home. Thomas found her. Thomas. My brother-in-law. The sperm donor. The man they all treated like a prize-winning stud horse while I was out working nights. How convenient, I said, the corner of my mouth twitching in something that might have been a smile. He was just around? She was alone when it happened, Judith said quickly. He was bringing her dinner. Of course he was. Claire stirred in the bed. Her eyelids fluttered, and she groaned. Her face looked older. Hollow. Like someone had sucked the joy out of her through a straw. Her eyes cracked open and landed on me. Jake. I didn't move. Jake. I'm so sorry. I didn't want this. It wasn't like it sounded. I was going to tell you. I saw the messages, Claire. She flinched like I'd slapped her. I saw the plans. The calendar reminders. The celebration cake. I let the words hang in the air. I was the last one in the room to realize I was the punchline. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Whether they were real or for show, I didn't care. Judith stepped in like she was still running the PR campaign. It was for the family, Jake. For bloodline continuity. Thomas is strong, educated, already proven with his kids. You chose a stud, I snapped, turning to her. You arranged a stud night for your daughter, while I was working overtime to pay your HOA dues. Judith's mouth opened, closed. Claire tried to sit up. I didn't want to hurt you. Mom said you'd understand. She said I wouldn't notice, I interrupted. That I was too trusting, too busy, that I'd never find out. Claire choked on a sob. But now Jake, I don't want to lose you. This wasn't supposed to go like this. I took a step forward and gently placed the manila envelope on the tray next to her. Then maybe, I said quietly, you should have thought about that before you turned our marriage into a breeding contract. What is this? Judith snapped. Settlement offer. From my lawyer. You'll want to get your own counsel. Clock starts now. Claire stared at the envelope like it was ticking. I turned toward the door. Judith's voice followed me. She could have died, Jake. She's your wife. I stopped. No, I said without looking back. She was your project, and I was just the dumb signature on the lease. Then I walked out. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was running away. I felt like I was walking towards something. You ever notice how silence can be louder than any scream? That's what the days after the hospital felt like. A vacuum. Everything pulled in, but nothing came out. No more calls. No more texts. Just stillness, like even the betrayal had paused to catch its breath. But don't mistake silence for peace. It's just the sound of someone planning. I left the hospital without a backward glance. Drove 3 towns over, to a place with cheap rent and no questions. A furnished month-to-month studio. The walls were beige. The mattress squeaked. But it was mine. Mine in a way that my home, our home, hadn't been in months. Funny how betrayal sharpens your memory. I started remembering things I'd buried. Like the time I came home with flowers and found the guest room door locked. Claire said she was organizing holiday decorations. I heard whispers, then the sound of the window closing. Like the spa receipts I found in the laundry under a name that wasn't hers. Like the time Thomas made an offhand joke at Thanksgiving. Claire's got that fertile glow, huh? He'd laughed too loud. She laughed too soft. I laughed, because I didn't know I was the punchline yet. Now I remembered everything. I met with my lawyer twice that week. We drafted the documents tight, no loopholes, no handouts. I had enough evidence to make the judge wince. Texts, photos, one audio recording, courtesy of a baby monitor left on in the guest bedroom. The irony would have been funny if it hadn't gutted me. The prenup Claire insisted we didn't need? Well, now she was wishing we had one, because I had her cornered. Not out of spite. Out of necessity. A man's got to protect what's his. And what was mine? Not the house. Not the car. Not even the ring I left on the kitchen counter, cold and waiting. What was mine was my name. My dignity. And I was damn well going to reclaim it. 2 weeks later, her attorney, some slick back hair type named Gregory, called my lawyer with an offer. Mediation. Claire was deeply regretful and wanted to avoid court. She was emotionally fragile. She wanted to explain, maybe reconcile. I didn't even blink. Tell her, I said, this isn't a conversation. It's a conclusion. I didn't want explanations. I didn't need them. I already had the truth. It had come wrapped in text bubbles and cake frosting. What Claire wanted was damage control, because now people were starting to talk. Word got around, as it always does in places like ours. Claire's friends, the Pilates moms and dog park cliques, they had opinions, and so did the neighbors, and her church group. Funny thing about people, they don't mind gossip, until the scandal moves in next door. Claire's spotless little social resume, starting to get some red ink. That's when the letters started. Handwritten notes. From her. Delivered by mail, like we were in some 19th century romance novel. Pages of apologies. Rambling paragraphs about pressure, motherhood, desperation, guilt. Every one of them signed. Still yours, Claire. I didn't respond. I didn't burn them either. I filed them away. Proof of guilt. Proof of intent. Proof that I was done being the fool. You know what else came in the mail? A birth announcement mock-up. Judith had it custom designed. Baby shower plans. Gender-neutral color palette. Printed invitations with embossed lettering. My name wasn't on any of it, but Thomas's was. They were going to name the kid James. James Brennan. Initials, JB. That was my grandfather's name. My initials. My blood. They weren't just replacing me. They were erasing me. That's when something inside me broke clean. I wasn't just leaving anymore. I was reclaiming the narrative. Not with violence. Not with drama. With strategy. So I started making calls. Quiet ones. To people Judith wouldn't dare dismiss. To someone in the HOA. To the private investigator I'd once hired to look into a shady contractor. To Thomas's wife. Oh yeah, forgot to mention that part, didn't I? He wasn't single. Just good at hiding it. Turns out, she didn't know about the surrogacy plan either. Her name's Elena. Sweet. Sharp. And as it turns out, absolutely furious. I told her everything. You ever watch someone light a fire they think they can control? That's what this whole mess felt like. Claire, Judith, Thomas, they all struck matches in a dry house and stood there marveling at the glow. Smiling. Toasting. They never imagined that flame would burn them. They built their betrayal like it was a private monument, stone by stone, behind my back. And now, me and Elena, we were just going to knock it down. No, we were going to excavate it. Expose the rot. Leave the structure standing just long enough for everyone to see the termites crawling underneath. It started with one dinner. Elena invited Judith over. A simple girls' night at her place. No suspicion. No alarm. I miss talking to you, she'd said over text. I'm sorry I've been distant. Judith, ever the control freak, couldn't resist the bait. That's the thing about manipulators. They never imagine anyone could outmaneuver them. Meanwhile, I met with Elena's friend Ava, a lawyer who specialized in family litigation. Bright-eyed, brutal, and absolutely thrilled by the story I laid out. You have enough here, she said, flipping through screenshots and notarized statements, to make Judith's social life implode. Good, because I wasn't just trying to end a marriage anymore. I was about to put the entire production on stage. The night of the dinner, Elena wore a wire. Not for the courts. Not for blackmail. Just for clarity. And Judith? Well, she didn't disappoint. Glass of wine in hand. She spilled everything like it was some family legacy she was proud of. It was the only way, dear. Jake's bloodline is useless. He's meek. Thomas? He's the future. Strong. Present. And Claire? Well, she always needed guidance. He'll come around eventually. Or he won't. Either way, the baby will be ours. Elena didn't say a word. Just smiled, nodded. Let her talk. By the end of the night, Judith had practically admitted to orchestrating a familial con job, and we had the whole thing on tape. That recording? It didn't go viral. It went targeted. First, it hit Thomas's employer. Small accounting firm, family-oriented. Emphasized integrity on their mission statement. We sent an anonymous email with the audio attached. Then, it went to the board of Claire's Charity Foundation, along with photos of the It's Official cake and text logs suggesting misuse of donation funds for personal spa weekends. Oh, and one copy? Straight to Judith's church pastor. Because if you're going to preach family values on Sunday, you shouldn't be arranging secret pregnancies on Tuesday. Within 72 hours, the call started. Claire, Jake, what did you do? Judith, you ungrateful little snake. Thomas, he didn't call. He got fired. Apparently, family discretion didn't mean much when you were caught using your sister-in-law as a side gig. His wife, Elena, had filed for separation the morning after our meeting. She'd changed the locks, taken the kids, and left a copy of the recording in his suitcase. Me? I didn't gloat. I didn't need to, because I still hadn't said a word publicly. I'd let them talk. Let them twist and spin and apologize to anyone who would still listen. But no one was listening anymore. That's the thing about shame. It echoes louder when the room's empty. As for Claire, she was still in that house. The house I built. Walking through rooms we painted together, now haunted by a future she tried to design without me. She texted again. I never meant to hurt you. I ignored it. She followed up with a photo of a sonogram. It's a boy. He has your smile. That made me laugh. That desperate, twisted logic. Like stealing your car, crashing it into a tree, then saying, but look, it still has your bumper. I didn't respond. She needed that. I needed closure. But what I really needed was something more. I wrote the letter in the middle of the night. The motel lamp flickered overhead like it was hesitating to watch. The pen felt heavy in my hand. Not because of the ink, but because I knew who this was for. Not Claire. Not Judith. Not Thomas. This was for him. The child. The boy they tried to make without me, but still used my name, my legacy, my shadow. And maybe, just maybe, some part of me hoped that one day, when he grew old enough to ask questions, someone would hand him this letter, and he'd know the truth. So I started writing. To James. I don't know what they'll tell you about me. Maybe they'll say I left. That I walked away from your mother. Maybe they'll say I couldn't handle it. That I was weak. Absent. Angry. But the truth is this. I loved your mother. I married her with my whole heart. I worked long hours, came home tired, still smiled. I gave her everything I had, because that's what love is. Sacrifice without the scoreboard. But love, son, love is not blindness. I found out before you were born that I wasn't part of the plan. That you were conceived not in love, not by accident, but by design. A plan your mother's family created while I was busy building a life to support all of them. They used my absence as a canvas for betrayal. And they painted it with lies. Lies about loyalty, about legacy, about what it means to be a father. You were the centerpiece of that lie. But don't take that as your burden. You didn't ask for this. You didn't ask to be conceived in secrecy. You didn't ask to carry a name you didn't earn. And you didn't ask to be born into a family that treated loyalty like currency and traded it behind closed doors. You, my boy, you're innocent. And here's the part no one will say out loud. I would have loved you anyway. If they'd been honest. If they'd had the guts to tell the truth instead of engineering one behind my back. I would have stayed. I would have stepped up. Because fatherhood isn't biology. It's presence. But I wasn't given the choice. They made it for me. So I walked away, not from you, but from the people who stole that decision. From the people who looked me in the eye and lied while planning a future that didn't include me. I walked away to protect what little of me was left. Maybe, by the time you read this, none of it will matter. Maybe you'll be a young man with your own questions and your own scars. Maybe you'll hate me. Maybe you won't understand. But know this. I kept my dignity so that if you ever do find me, you'll meet a man who still has his spine. Not a doormat. Not a ghost. A man who was betrayed and chose to walk with his head high rather than live on his knees. You deserved a better beginning. And I deserve the truth. We both got cheated. And I'm sorry for that. Wherever you are, whoever you become, I hope you find your own truth. And I hope it's built on something real. Jake Brennan. I folded the letter slowly. Placed it in an envelope. Wrote, for James, if he ever asks, on the front. I gave it to my lawyer the next day with strict instructions. Deliver it only if the boy comes looking for me. Not before. It wasn't a cry for redemption. It wasn't a bridge. It was a marker. A reminder. That no matter how much they tried to rewrite me out of the story, I still existed. Somewhere out there, years from now, maybe he'd read that letter and understand what kind of man his mother married, and what kind of man refused to be erased. You don't rebuild in the middle of a storm. You wait until the thunder stops, the sky clears, and the wreckage is all laid bare. That's when you see what's salvageable and what needs to be burned to the foundation. I stood in front of the courthouse on a Thursday morning. Cold air biting my face, collar turned up. I had no tie, no dramatic entrance, no hand to hold. Just a folder in one hand and a piece I hadn't felt in years in the other. The hearing took 15 minutes. Claire didn't show. Her lawyer did. Slouched, overworked, more interested in closing the case than defending the honor of a woman who'd lost hers before I ever filed. The judge asked if we could avoid court. I said no. Because court wasn't just about closure. It was about truth on paper. It was about making a record that no one, not Claire, not Judith, not the ghost of holidays past, could rewrite. The settlement terms were straightforward. No alimony. She forfeited that with intentional marital misconduct. I kept my pension, my business shares, the truck she used to mock for being too loud. She kept the house, by request, which was perfect, because that house, that was her shrine now. Let her walk through those walls every day, hear her footsteps echo where I used to laugh. Let the silence remind her of everything she lost while chasing the life her mother scripted. I left the building alone, but not empty. It's strange, you know, the way grief makes space for clarity. Because now I had room to breathe again. The next few weeks were surgical. I changed banks, rerouted mail, filed to legally revert my last name, back to the one my grandfather carried before my father changed it to match my mother's after they married. No more Brennan. I wouldn't share a last name with Claire, or James, or that family. I didn't tell anyone. I just did it. Burned the bridge. Then paved a new road.